Good morning, everyone. Yes. St. Mark's Cathedral acknowledges that we gather on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people who are still here, and we honor with gratitude the land itself and the life of all the Coast Salish tribes. Welcome. The first thing I'm going to do is ask you, if you're sitting on one of the outside, if you have any possible impulse to move to one of the centers where the leaflets are is what we're really after. So feel free to move in on that. Thank you for coming downstairs and joining this Interfaith or Interreligious Forum. We are delighted to have our friends from Clear Mountain Buddhist Monastery and community who meet Saturday mornings here on our campus and have been doing so for, 2.5 years or so, maybe 3. And Ajahn Nisabo, the Buddhist monk here, you can tell by the way he dresses. Ajahn Nisabo is a dear friend who came with another person from his community, Steve Wilhelm, who has a long connection to St. Mark's, stemming back to the 1990s and 2000s with another meditation group that met here for several years. And Steve and Nisabo came to my office, and the Spirit was just moving. We'll just call it that way, for us to forge what is become a friendship and the mutuality of the bonds of affection across our lines of spiritual practice, and we are delighted for it, and I think we are the richer for their being on our campus. So it's my delight to welcome them to this forum and to St. Mark's, and to call on Ajahn Nisabo to kind of introduce us and tee things up and see where we go from there. Ajahn Nisabo, thank you.
Okay. Do we use the stand? Is it good? All right. Either way. Thank you. Great. Okay. Thank you, Reverend Thomason. I'm Ajahn Nisabo, the monk, and just to say that the first time we came to speak with Reverend Thomason in the St. Mark's community, the generosity was immediate, and Reverend Thomason really invited us to come and meet here every week, just out of this spirit of giving. And we're pretty much a website and the gym over there and the hall here once a week, thanks to the generosity of this community. And so we've been so grateful and just feel very blessed to be part of this kind of friendship. And then the opportunity came to do an interfaith prayer and meditation and liturgy service with St. Mark's, and it arose about last year. And since then, we've been in communication and dialogue planning this service with Michael, Hannah, and Brianna. And Brianna is one of our community who's been integral to the whole thing, so I'll hand the mic off to her, and we can go from there.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I think that's all I'm offering. I'm part of the Clear Mountain community.
And I just want to say thank you to everyone, especially Nisabo and Brianna, and there's been a handful of others who have assisted this in creating this service. And I wanted to give just a little background, like what led us to wish to offer this service. I think it was about a year-ish ago, that I believe Nisabo had reached out to Dean Thomason, just saying how much they really appreciate the friendships they've developed at St. Mark's. But also that many in their community had expressed a desire to kind of go deeper with the friendship beyond just casual hellos and occasionally attending services and bringing donuts. A lot of donuts for the ministers and staff and volunteers. And so Dean Thomason shared with many of us on staff and said, does anyone have any ideas and thoughts on what we might offer? And I chimed in. Having recently launched our Taizé ministry with Hannah and a few others here at St. Mark's, I thought, this could be an interesting way to collaborate on a spiritual level, on a level that actually acknowledges some of our faith traditions. The Taizé ministry we have here at St. Mark's, which we started, I want to say in spring of 2022, I think. Don't quote me on that. We brought that about, and one of the goals was to be able to actually do some collaborations with ministry groups, both at St. Mark's and outside. And this was really an opportunity that came across, and I thought, why don't we see if they might be interested in collaborating on a prayer service, an Interfaith Taizé service. Taizé, if you're not so familiar with it, just briefly, is an ecumenical monastery in France that was started back in the, I think, late 60s, early 70s. And since then has really developed a following from various Christian communities around the world, from all walks of Christian tradition, from Roman Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, Reformed. There's just representation from across the spectrum. And one of the things that is key to Taizé is there isn't really a structured liturgy per se, there's more a Taizé style. Taizé style is generally a mix of prayer, meditation, and song, usually chant. And when we reached out to the Buddhist group, their Buddhist monastery, with our idea of Taizé, and we shared, they said, well, what is Taizé? We kind of talked about it, and we felt like there were some potentials for, maybe we could actually do this in a way that honors our traditions. And we borrowed some, sacred Buddhist scriptures, some sacred Christian scriptures, some Buddhist chant, some Christian chant, and it really just started to blossom after that. Once we had an initial meeting to discuss our idea, and we shared with them a little bit about what Taizé is, we all agreed this seems like a really good fit. So that was about a year ago that we connected and decided this is something we'd like to pursue. So we've been having meetings pretty regularly for the last year or so, from a group from the Clear Mountain Monastery and from St. Mark's, and here we are. So we're going to now discuss a little bit about the, I want to first not skip an unveiling. We have an unveiling. So on the very back page of your leaflet, go over. We're going to have an unveiling. So on the very back page, as we were developing the theme for the service, which we have called Living Buddha, Living Christ, Living Spirit, Ajahn will talk a little bit more about that. We were looking for an icon. We generally have an icon at our Taizé services to have as a focus for our prayer. And we found this icon written by an Episcopalian in Washington, D.C. at St. Mark's Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. And it is the Buddha and the Christ. And wow, that's really pretty. This is our first time seeing it framed. Yeah, that's lovely. And so as a sign of our friendship, our friends at the Clear Mountain Monastery have purchased and framed this icon for us as a gift to commemorate this first interfaith Buddhist Christian service that we're offering, and it is just lovely. So we'll have that present at the service on, I think it's May 21st, didn't we say? And there's a little more about the writer of the icon on the back. She's got a really fantastic Instagram page and kind of an interesting story as well, if you're curious about more about the icon writer and its story. But we felt like this really kind of perfectly summed up the theme of living Buddha, living Christ, living Spirit. There's the Buddha, there's Christ, and then beyond Christ's shoulder is the dove representing the Spirit. So we're really grateful for your gift, and we will cherish it for many, many, many years. So, and I think at this point, maybe talk a little bit about the themes of the service. There you go. Right.
Thank you. So, it meant quite a lot to have a chance to go deeper than donuts in the occasional shared service. And some of you might be aware there's a tension that always occurs with interfaith services, with holding the integrity of each tradition while also finding the common elements. And that's a really interesting dynamic to navigate, and I just want to express deep gratitude for Michael and Hannah for doing it with such grace with us. And I think the icon really embodies that, with both images are depicted in themselves, and yet there's this third combining and unifying element of spirit behind it all. It coincided well with 2 holy days in each of our traditions as well. And what we decided to model or structure the service on held a similar interplay between the traditions, where we decided to structure it on the fruits of the Holy Spirit, which are these qualities of heart in the Christian tradition, and to name each and do a reading or a song from each, while also mapping onto those qualities of heart the Buddhist equivalents which run as strands through our own tradition, and to honor those qualities with their Pali, which is the Buddhist derivative of Sanskrit. It's our scriptural language, the Pali equivalents. So we decided to do kind of a back and forth through each quality of heart, where one tradition would do a song or a chant to invoke, catalyze, describe one of the qualities, and the other would do a reading, and back and forth in that way, interspersed with times of contemplation and meditation. So it was this beautiful interplay of tradition, of manifestation and silence, of invocation and meditation. And I think it was, you'll see some of the fruits of that in the pamphlet, but it was a really beautiful process to engage in. And I felt like finally gave kind of a framing to the relationship we've been building with St. Mark's, where each tradition has been able to hold the integrity of its lineage while also valuing and framing this shared spirit of faith, which will be the kind of unifying thread, and hopefully for years to come. Don't know if that's what I said. Yeah, so the holiday or holy day, which is in the Buddhist calendar, is the Buddha's. It's probably not actually the Buddha's birthday, but we say it's such. And also his enlightenment, and also his passing away. So there's this beautiful invocation there of the knowledge of impermanence, of the birth and death leads to enlightenment, all in one day, in one moment. And that's kind of the invocation of that day in our calendar. So, Asalaha Puja, it's called. And I think this year it's May 20th. It's Thursday. Thank you.
This date is smack dab in the middle between, Thursday, May 23rd. It is the Taizé date is smack dab between the Feast of Pentecost, the coming of the Holy Spirit, and this feast. And we literally, when we were planning it, we were just like, what about May 21st? That'd be perfect. And then with the theme, it was kind of really cool. And so, as we said, the Sunday is the Feast of Pentecost, which in the Christian tradition is it's the 50th day of Easter, Pentecost, coming from Greek, I think, 50 days. And so it's the celebration of the 50th day of Easter, the day that the Holy Spirit came upon the disciples, as we read in the story in the book of Acts, the Acts of the Apostles. So, we felt like the date really coincided well with the theme and between our two holy days or holidays, and that's part of it. Shall you do this part here, or do you want me to do that? Okay. So one other thing I wanted to mention too, and there's a little bit more detailed background when you open up your leaflet on the inside cover, but the title or the theme that we used for the title of this service, Living Buddha, Living Christ, Living Spirit, is inspired by Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Living Buddha, Living Christ. Thich Nhat Hanh was a Buddhist monk. You could look him up, fascinating person, had a friendship many decades ago, had forged a friendship with Thomas Merton, a Trappist monk who was at a monastery in Kentucky. They forged a friendship, and in any case, the book, Living Buddha, Living Christ, which many of us had read, we used that as sort of an inspiration to guide our initial conversations, and we eventually ended up on, why not that as a theme? And so that's the inspiration for the story behind that. So let's just briefly talk about the structure of the service, if you'd like to just follow along. We're going to begin the Taizé service. This is on May 21st. Of course, land acknowledgement and welcome. And then Nisapo will offer a traditional Buddhist blessing to open the service. And then we then proceed into the sections that are framed by the fruits of the Spirit. And you'll notice, so if you turn to page 4, the first, love, and then next to that in parentheses is the Pali, P-A-L-I. That's the sacred language of the Buddhist tradition. So their equivalent would be metta, if I'm saying that correctly. And then for each of the fruits is just a brief explanation for a little bit about that, and then the source or the explanation behind the reading that was chosen, which will alternate between the Buddhist reading and a Christian reading. And then the next page will always be a chant, either a Buddhist chant or a Christian chant. And so that's really the structure of the service. If you just thumb through, you'll see joy, and then peace, and then patience, or kanti. At that point, after those 4 have run on page 11, as Nisapo mentioned, we'll have occasional moments of meditation or contemplation. Our first one will be on page 11 at the top. One of our traditions that the Taizé monastery observes, which we've included in this, is what they call the Great Silence. So in the midst of a Taizé-style service, you'll often have an extended period of silent meditation. So we'll observe that in the middle. And you'll notice also there in the center, which is also on the cover, 3 symbols. Those are also explained in detail, I think, at the end of the leaflet. But those represent living Buddha, living Christ, living Spirit. The Dhammapada wheel. Dhammachakra wheel is a symbol for one of the symbols of Buddhism. We have a Celtic cross, which we actually thought was really interesting. It has some similar qualities to the wheel. And then, of course, the Spirit with the olive branch. So that you'll see that interspersed throughout as well, just reiterating the theme. So we continue on again through the fruits of the Spirit. And then another moment of contemplation, which is another tradition in the Taizé style of prayer, is a moment for coming forward and doing something tactile. Some Taizé groups will do contemplation of the cross or veneration of a cross. In our tradition here at St. Mark's, we incorporate candle lighting for something tactile. And so we invite people to come forward, light a candle, a single candle, place it in a bowl, which we usually have right in front of the icon, which we offer as sort of a visual focus for our prayer. And that bowl, or the candles, represent all of our prayers being offered to the divine. So that's the other moment of meditation and contemplation in the service. And then it continues on. And then we will conclude the service with a really lovely closing blessing that Dean Thomason will offer on page 22. Altogether, it should be around an hour is our thought. We've gone through this a few times, and we feel like that's a really good chunk of time, not too long, not too short. It's going to have really lovely interspersions of music, which I think is what we're going to talk about next. Yeah, so we'd like to introduce a Buddhist chant to begin. Would you like me to hold a microphone? Would you like to do it a cappella? What would you like? Okay.
I'm going to try. I might have to hand it off at some point. So we actually don't sing a lot in our tradition. So you'll see that there's not music to follow. But what there are, what are the called? The
Arrows.
arrows.
I'm not sure.
Okay. So you'll see in the way that the chant is written, and we have chants.
Page 5.
Yep, we're on page 5. So, and throughout you'll see that we have some English chants that we'll be doing and also some chants in Pali, which will be fun, I think, for everyone. And there, you'll see these little arrows. You'll see some that are at the bottom and some that are at the top, and those just indicate, so we're not very musical, as I said, so you'll hear it's a little bit monotone or a little bit tritoned, and
You get 3 tones.
you get 3 tones. You've got your standard, and then when the arrow's down, you dip lower, and when the arrow's up, you dip higher. And that's pretty much it. And so it's pretty easy to follow along with, when it's in English anyway. And so we're hoping that we can chant a little bit, and then maybe try a couple of stanzas together. Does that work?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Can I ask Chris for the recording, is it helpful for them to hold a microphone, or?
Yeah, any sound that ends up on the recording.
Okay.
We'll hold the mic.
Yeah.
Okay, so you might just kind of hold it.
If I do want to go to the first one.
So we'll chant together to the end of the second stanza, nature, and then we'll Oh, page 5 again.
Yep,
Sorry, of the
page 5.
pamphlet. So this is the Buddha's Words on Loving Kindness, which is one of the most common or popular, well-known of his teachings. So we'll go to the first 2 stanzas, to nature, and then we'll start again from the beginning, by one who is skilled in goodness.
Do you want to explain the brackets?
Oh, and the brackets just mean that's something the leader chants. So, but you can join in if you really want. I won't look angrily at you. So we'll do the first 2 stanzas, and then we'll start over again, and everyone can join in if they want. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Actually, you're all catching on right away. It's not too hard, is it? So let's just keep going from stanza 3.
Like Gregorian chant a little bit.
Yeah, we're a bit Gregorian, yes. Let's keep going then, stanza 3 to stanza 6. Yes, please, everyone. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Well done, everyone. So in Buddhism, when everyone did a great job, we say sadhu, which means that was awesome. So let's try it. 1, 2, 3. Sadhu. Well done. All right.
Would you be willing to chant like a smidge of the last one in Pali?
Yeah, so
Or one of them?
yeah, so we'll chant a little Pali, just the first stanza. This is harder for people to follow, but page 12. This is the suffusion of with the divine abidings, which is a loving kindness chant. So that's page 12. And people can try to chant along, but no pressure. It's a little hard. And in Pali, V's are pronounced wa, like W, and a PH is a P, not a F. So now let us chant the suffusion with the divine abidings. Metta sahagacena cetasa ekang disang paritowa viharati tata dutiyang tata tatiyang tata chatutang iti udamado tiriyang sabadi saba tataya saba wantang lokang metta sahagatena cetasa vipulena mahagatena apamanena overena abhaya pajena paritowa viharati. So we tend to expect it to get a little quieter on that one. But that means, now let us make the 4 boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide pervading 1/4 with a heart imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the 2nd, likewise the 3rd, likewise the 4th. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide pervading the all-encompassing world with a heart imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility, and without ill will. So, thank you. Thank you.
And if I may say, you have a few other friends here. I don't know. They were helping you chant, I believe, if I was hearing correctly. Yes, but we're great. Yeah. We were. Oh, I'm sorry. It'll be in the nave, yeah. And actually, I was about to say, before we continue, do we want to pause for any questions about what we've shared so far, or any curiosities? But it'll be in the nave. And it'll be live streamed on May 21st.
Ajahn Nisabo, could you just briefly speak about Thai forest Buddhism and your journey from the Pacific Northwest to Thailand and then back here, and what you're hoping to do with the monastery too?
Thanks. That's a really kind question, actually. Yeah, I was born in California and then moved up to, I grew up in Spokane, Washington, and began meditating in my teens, and it just became a bigger and bigger part of my life until by the end of college I really felt the need to explore deeper. And so went to Thailand, where there's a pretty ancient monastic tradition dating 2,500 years back to the time of the Buddha. So we hold the same rules that he did. We don't touch money. We eat once a day. We rely on others kind of for basically our day-to-day living and sustenance. And it creates this beautiful symbiosis between the lay community and the monastics, where we can't cut ourselves off in a spiritual cocoon, and yet we have to come into contact every day in terms of, or else we don't eat. So there was a real question of whether we could bring this back to the US, where people don't know what we are. But people are good. And and there is a hunger right now, I really feel, for contemplative practice and tradition and a spiritual canopy, which is why I value so much what St. Mark's does. I see a lot of spiritual communities balancing between social activism and the transcendent center, and St. Mark's has held both so beautifully in tandem. That is so rare to see. And so, hoping to come back and also fill some of that need. So 3 years ago, I came back after ordaining 12 years ago in Thailand, and went to, every morning I go to Pike Place for alms, and people kind of stop and give me food, and it's been beautiful to see that even in the West, where people don't know what this outfit means, there's such goodness, and just it's been wonderful to see kind of this community form out of nothing, and in large part due to what St. Mark's has given us. So I hope that does the kind of helps with it, or anything else. Oh, Clear Mountain. So Clear Mountain Monastery, it's on the internet right now. So clearmountainmonastery.org is, we have an online community, but we meet every Saturday, either in Amistad School and Skinner Auditorium, or occasionally in Blodell and occasionally in the sanctuary here, depending. And we're currently looking for land. So we just came 3 years ago, and the community's kind of been building with these weekly meditations, and now we're kind of seeing if we can find a permanent refuge and sanctuary for practice. So that's the current moment. So if anyone knows about 30 acres of forested land for free, talk to me after this.
Any other questions before we demonstrate Taizé chant? Yes.
Thanks. Hi. This is such a blessing to have you here and to know that you practice on this very campus. And as somebody who's studied world religions and has participated in many spiritual groups, in fact, I'm going to be advertising this service widely to my energy healing community. And so I'm thrilled it's here. I'm thrilled it's live streamed. And I did read that book, Living Buddha, Living Christ, many years ago. And it was very heart-opening. And just in general, Buddhism, I think, has many things to offer Christianity. And I'm just so grateful that we're doing this here. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Doug?
Yeah, just to add, I've also read the Thich Nhat Hanh book, and if people would be interested, it might be an interesting a study book, just as a way of developing both the relationship and the knowledge. So just a thought.
Very good point. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Second. Well, let's chat. Let's chat. Well, sadhu, is that in a sadhu? Okay. That's a good question, Elizabeth. Doug, let's chat. So I think we were gonna conclude with actually one of the Christian chants that we're gonna sing. It's actually not a Taizé chant. If you're familiar with Taizé chants, they have a very specific style that involves generally repeating a refrain ostinato, just repetition. Sometimes there are verses layered underneath the repeated refrain. However, in the development of this service, we found if you go to, do you mind holding the microphone for me here? If you go to page 19, thank you. Page 19, we came across a song, a chant, if you will, that is inspired by Psalm 46 that we really felt summed up kind of gentleness and stillness and solitude. It's based on that, famous refrain, "Be still and know that I am God." And the way this works, it's explained in here, but I'll just say, it has a refrain that is sung, and then when the cantor, and I'll demonstrate this, when the cantor offers a verse, the people hum the refrain, okay? So we're going to do a little demonstration. Oh, we've got David at the piano. And how this will work is, you're great. This is my first time in front of people too, So the way this will work is, David's going to play through the tune, I will sing the refrain, then all will join in singing the refrain. And then I'll offer the first verse while everyone hums the refrain. Then we'll come back and sing the refrain together. And then I'll sing the second verse while, again, all of you hum the refrain. And then we'll end by one final singing of the refrain. Clear as mud? In general, we're just going to experience what the music feels like. And if you could just hold that for me for a second. Actually, hold the microphone if you wouldn't mind. Thanks. Let me go over here in the... This will be easier for me for this. All right, so we will begin with David's going to play through, and then I'll offer the first refrain sung, and then we'll join in on the second repeat. Be still and know that I am God. 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 God is a refuge and strength, a helper close at hand, close to my distress. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. So may we not be afraid, though trembling is the earth, though all the mountains fall. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Sadhu! Cool. I'm going to give it to Hannah. Hannah hasn't said much. Anything you want to add? Hannah's been a wonderful help in coordinating all of this. And what do you have to say?
What do I have to say? I think Ajahn Nisapo said this a minute ago, but I'll just reiterate it in that there is a beauty and a tension that comes with planning interfaith moments. because there's so much that is so close to our hearts and our felt lived spirit when it comes to the way in which we live our spiritual life and our faith life in the world. And that's true for all of us across all of our traditions. And so it's just, we've said it before, but to close, it's such a gift to be able to come together with people who are so willing to be open about what it is that is close to our heart, what it is that's felt in our tradition, and to know that as we discover those things together, we can also weave together experiences that allow us to see the beauty within one another's space and to share that beauty together. So we really hope you all come on the 21st. Invite others to come on the 21st, and may this be the first of many things we do together. Yeah, thank you all for coming this morning.